Okay, so we're gonna start the meeting for the personnel board. The only item we have on the agenda is the discussion of the bylaws and what we're gonna submit for changes this cycle. Realistically, we're not gonna be able to make all the changes throughout, only because there's a lot.
Yeah.
And we want to be able to really discuss it out thoroughly. I think that we should vote on the changes that we all have agreed upon and then see where we're at.
Could I just, one thing, and I don't know if it's on the agenda, but just,
Mhm.
and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe at the last selectmen's meeting, they did approve the hire of the building commissioner.
Oh, okay, good.
I know we had mentioned it in here, and
We did.
I don't know if
The
I read
last
the
meeting
paper.
we
Yeah, I
talked
think,
about
but I
it,
think
yeah.
they did.
He's also.
No, I just wanted the
Awesome.
board to.
That's awesome. Yeah, he's,
No, I
signed his offer. Awesome.
Yeah, I just wanted the board to know that. I mean, we had talked
Thank
about it
you.
here and.
Yeah, no, thank
and
you
I
for
see-
bringing that
I
up.
just, yeah, so, Madam Chair, if I could, so the three
Yeah.
things, when we first started this,
Mm-hmm.
the town bylaws,
Yeah.
one of the issues, one of the changes was brought to us from the previous board where, they was a clerical error. They had passed something and it
Yeah.
kind of slipped through. So I just have those two and then the one about, and I don't have the wording for it, that's why I'm open to anyone have anything else. But I did talk to Mr. Ward today.
Mm-hmm.
And so if the three that I propose, if it's fine with the board, again, that work, unless you guys want to do it, I could work with Mr. Ward in getting the exact. So what I found out today was for every paragraph or subparagraph you want to change, it would be on the warrant. It would say, so let's reference
Right.
it. Like, let's say paragraph 5.2-3 scheduling,
Mm-hmm.
vote to amend, and then this would be listed, and then we'd have to put the other one on there.
Mhm.
That's a lot, for us, but the ones that they asked us to change, I don't think it's that difficult, and I know so the
Yeah.
first one is on page, here it's on page, I'm sorry, page 17.
Mm-hmm.
It's 5.3 tac 2 accumulation. Yeah, I just have the one. that-
Yeah, no, I got Yeah.
The 5.
3,
523
5.3.2.
532.
Sick leave.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so it's accumulate, right, it says sick leave and it says, hey, 30
Yep,
days, blah, blah.
yep,
So
yep,
the last sentence where it says sick leave shall accumulate from year to year to a maximum of 240 and has 360 in parentheses.
Mm-hmm.
I know they talked about it first, so we should put a line, just my recommendation, I'll just do all three and then you guys can do what you want. We should put a line through the 240 so they can accumulate up to 360, which has been the practice, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been practice. It's kind of confusing how it was written.
Right.
And the intent was, and then if you go down to 5.3 tac 4, which says termination of employment.
Mm-hmm.
So on C, it says in case of voluntary termination, employee with 20 years of continuous service shall receive compensation at the rate of 20% of accumulated sick time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know exact wording. My wording was to a maximum of 240.
Is 240 20%?
No. You can sell back up to 240 days, which would be 12 days a year to 20
Right.
years.
Right.
And that was their intent
So
up
you-
above.
Just to add that.
Right, you can accumulate 360, which would be 30 years at 12 days,
Right.
but you can only sell back 240.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you can put it all in one sentence. I just put it down here
Yeah.
because it seemed to fit.
Mm-hmm.
And then all I have to do is say, to amend 5-3 to read the following.
Mm-hmm.
And the only other one I had, and I didn't have the wording for it, I was reading on the state website, I have their suggestion. I couldn't figure out how to word it, was the page before that on page 16. If you look at termination, it says when employment is terminated, dismissed, blah, blah, it goes on and on about vacation. In the last sentence says, in addition, payments will be made in the portion of the vacation time allowance earned in the vacation year during which termination occurred. Somehow to put in, I don't know the wording, but you can prorate that. And then on the state website, it says if you're clear. And I know we had people that left here, and it wasn't clear as to, in other words, you got your vacation time. It didn't spell it out. If I read through this, I think it's clear that they could only sell back a prorated part, but it can be interpreted two ways. Or if we made it clear that, if you were to leave prior to your year, your vacation time that you sell back would be prorated. And I can work on the wording, but that's my recommendation, to just kind of clean that up. I know, Ray, you did a lot of work on the other stuff, but there's a lot of, suggestions in the changes that would involve other departments and would also involve this board that I'm just personally not comfortable with delving into, because I think there's just so much more. I mean, we were just gonna look at small admin changes. That was an entire rewrite. And to go through all that, and then I personally think it should be vetted or shared when, let's say we do a paragraph a month starting in July, we do it for 5 months, that as we make our recommended changes, to share it with the departments, or let's say it's going to affect the payroll, and you share it with the treasurer. It's going to affect HR, share it with human resources, or it's going to affect, the town administrator, whoever it is. Hey, these are our recommended changes, so that it's not a culture shock when
Yeah.
people read it.
Well,
I don't
I
have to
think
get the
then
approval.
we should probably also do it in the format that Mike's talking about, which is like, here's what we're recommending as a rewrite
Right,
to
Yes.
override this. And then
Correct.
maybe like ... here's our reasoning, like highlights, we're doing it because of this, this, and this. Because
Right.
we wouldn't, even if we approved every change
Yeah.
that's redlined today,
we would
we'd have to go back and
back
rewrite
and-
every change saying it's this to that.
We wouldn't have
You
to
know?
write anything.
That's a good point, because if we did a chapter a month, and then we get done with it, write it as we go. So at the end of the 5 months, it's already written out to amend paragraph. But anyway, that's my motion, is I'll make a motion that we can talk about it, whatever, to amend these three, so 5.3 TAC 2 with the, putting the line through
Okay.
240, 5.3 TAC 4, to
Five.
add in,
Dot three.
That's the
Let me just
accumulation.
write that down. And then 5.3.4.
would be to add in to a maximum
200,
of
to maximum
240. And then I could work with you on the terminology, unless, I know is how the page before on 5.2 TAC 4, the termination. And I have the states thing in here. I just couldn't fit their wording into I couldn't fix the state law into the wording. So I could work. I did talk to Mr. Ward. He said something like that. Could give our thoughts on it to the town solicitor. He would put it. He's the
He
one that-
would put it in.
Anything we write, even if we thought we did it right, anything would go to, and that's the other part that we didn't bring up, is anything here would still have to go to the
It would
solicitor.
all have to go
Right, I
there.
did bring that up, that all of our changes would be reviewed, and all of our changes here have no fiscal impact.
Well, they do. And again, I don't have time for this. I don't really, they do, because if you add vacation time, or you allow people, or employees, I should say, to carry over more sick time, it can have financial implications down the road. That's a fact. And that's everything. I think we need to, again, I'm not saying we have to, but at least, we've already talked about this, is when we make these changes, just share them. One, so people won't be, when they go to town meeting next year, it won't be a culture shock. And two, they make something we missed and say, hey, what did you guys, I work at this company, or this is how they do it. And it would save the I don't know, embarrassment, or you make a mistake. Because this one here, this past town meeting, and it was,
Right.
this past town meeting, and the 360 was wrong, but it was a clerical error that nobody caught. So anyway, that's my motion. I'd like to approve those and at least push those forward for changes. And then, we can, if we're going to do a total rewrite, we're going to need time.
We don't have time.
Well, I'm fine with that. But I'd say like the rewrite is the important first step. And I think we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. We basically say we have the rewrite, and now let's like codify it. That's what we want to do moving forward.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. We could definitely take a chapter at a time and see what we wanted to keep out of it. Well, I'm not saying throw it out.
No,
Yeah.
we just don't, as a committee, have time
Yeah.
to go through this and discuss it out.
But at least we can, the two major issues that came
Some
up,
of the things that we've already,
because the vacation did become an issue, and the 240/360
Yeah.
could become an
and
issue.
that was right when we first started.
Yeah,
We
because
had that
those positions,
Mhm.
I don't know if they retired or left. The three of them left at the same time,
Right.
and vacation wasn't clear as to what you could, and like I said, if you read
Yeah.
it, two people
Yeah.
could read it, and one had one opinion and one had another, and because it's conflicted. And the same with the 240, if you look at it now, the intent was, there's at least 5 employees I spoke to have more than 240 now, because the practice, I guess, was that you could accumulate up to 360. So might as well put it in writing so it doesn't come down. But also to clarify that you can only sell back the 240. So
Right. Okay.
And I can work with, whether it's Ray or Mike or whoever, just put it in a, in that warrant format, give it to,
Yeah, so.
town solicitors, so.
To go tomorrow, right? Did
I
you-
talked to Mike and they're not meeting until a week from tomorrow.
Yeah, that's
I
fine.
talked to Mike this morning after I got your message.
So that makes it a moot point anyway, right?
So we're.
But it'll still give us,
I mean, from my perspective, if I may,
Go ahead.
we've discussed everything up until parts 5.
We discussed everything up until page 17, if I remember correctly.
Until part,
It was like accrual, right? The vacation.
we got to all the vacation, the benefits section was part of it. So we
Yeah.
had discussed everything up until that point. That's where we keep getting stuck. To say that we haven't had time to discuss those changes, I think is misrepresented. But I will throw my 2 cents to say this is if we do look at putting something in there, it would have to be quite, because I read that part of law also, it would have to be quite detailed to be able to take and prorate people's vacation times upon separation. It's regressive. And we're already having a hard time recruiting people because of what we pay. So that was my only reason for asking this board's consideration to update the benefits section, was because people come to the public sector not because of the pay, but because of the benefits. And we are behind.
well, with the vacation, that's another part, there's another part on page 6 that I'm not comfortable approving any of that, but with the vacation time, when the hiring authority, which is currently the town administrator, when he negotiates with an employee, he negotiates where on the salary scale, the salary, if you will, compensation. But it also, by having, you start at 2 weeks, then it goes to 3, 4, 5, all the way up. He has whoever the town administrator be, then has that as a bargaining chip. So if you want, so look, I can't give you any more money, but you came from a job and I can offer you another week. And since I've been here, I think nobody's ever said no.
No, we've had a couple.
Right. We've had a couple and there was a couple before me. And I caught this the other day. There's a line on page 6, 1.2 tack 2. It says, it's about the responsibilities of the personnel board, and you add it in, unless expressly voted in session, notified otherwise, the department head of the town Clinton's resource shall act as the agent and delegate of the personnel board, exercising powers, duties, and responsibility of the board. That's not true. And I wouldn't be comfortable with that. We could vote to delegate somebody, but we shouldn't have to vote to have our own power back. And one of the responsibilities of this board is to set the classification.
That is correct.
The compensation was approved, and years ago, I've been home 11 years, so short of that, I couldn't tell you how many years, at the town meeting, at the request of I forget which board it was, so the compensation is delegated currently to the town administrator, so there's the same person or the same board isn't doing both, putting you on the compensation scale, the classification scale, and then paying you at the same time. So our job, one of ours is to approve the job description come forward and to assign that pay grade, not and again, if there was and I can't think of a case, if there was a case where this board felt that, hey, we can't meet for 2 months for whatever reason, we can't get a quorum, we could then vote so that the town could hire in the meantime, to delegate somebody, but not to take it back. But I would like to, again, I made a motion, I would like to get a vote on those other 3. Again, if and again, like I said, if we put that forward to the solicitor and say, hey, here's our recommendation to your point, right, on the vacation time, and he comes back and says it's too, I don't know, unclear, whatever, it recommends we don't do it. Okay, then we just don't do it. We still clarify the 240 and the
That
360.
has to be clarified.
And to your
yes.
point, man, we
I
could
agree
clearly
with
move forward, and the next week we'll meet again, June, I guess, and say, okay, let's quickly go back and say, what needs to be, because I'm going to have it looks like there's going to be a new town administrator here in June timeframe. The 2 treasurer, they may have
Right.
some thoughts coming from where they
That's
are.
right.
And you'd hate to go all over again and say that, I'm not comfortable with whatever. I just want to clear up what we had, what our intent was 6 months ago, and at least go forward with that. And then we can definitely,
So make a motion.
yeah, I'd make a motion to those 3 that I mentioned earlier, to put them forward for recommendation on the warrant.
For
then
the
again,
changes.
For the change.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
That's fine.
Okay.
I'm fine with it.
And we could definitely, work on that other.
So, yeah,
I just want to read this one dot
Which one?
2-2. Permit responsibilities of personnel board. Just give me 1 second.
Oh, yeah, I was right. Oh, it's good. 1, 2, 2.
Correct.
Yeah.
There's a couple people down here today.
Oh, I see.
Mhm.
So Ray, the intent of this red line is to say that basically HR would take on what the personnel board presently does today. Is that accurate?
No, it
No.
was just,
Just
it
explain
was
to me what
meant
it
to
says.
act,
Has a delegate for the person.
as a delegate, so someone who would be.
That's the
one
way I
that would be
interpreted it.
Pushing what the personnel's agenda is, or not agenda, but.
Yeah, I
what
just
the
gotta be
personnel
careful
board's
with wording it. To me, I
policy is,
read it.
The
to
same way.
also.
Yeah, no, I read it as.
For example, if someone came to negotiate for vacation so that we don't have to wait, let's say we don't meet for 2 months and
Sure.
there's a candidate, we able to negotiate that vacation on behalf of the person. Or
See, that-
but not to go outside of the salary, where we wouldn't have that anyway. That's not,
Can't wait.
that's beyond
But-
even just us saying like, we have it, now it's gonna be adopted.
But it's currently, that's what I say, the current wording gives us the authority to do that. But this wording says it the other way around, that it would be inferred unless we voted to take that authority back. I mean, all of these are, there's the one right before that, it says,
No, but it does say
right, show
shall
that,
act as an agent
Agent
and
and
delegate,
delegate.
which really
Right.
of the personnel board, which
Oh.
basically means like we still have the authority. He would be acting on our behalf.
right,
That's the
but it's
right-
already in there. The line before that says the personnel board may appoint a person to act as their agent by delegating necessary powers, duties, and responsibilities. It's the last
Oh, is
line there.
Oh, it's
So there's no,
duplicate.
there's no sense
So what's,
saying,
so
because this
Right,
one's,
so hold
this
on,
was
so
put
hold on.
here
So in your
at the
opinion,
request of the board, for the record, the board requested something very specific in my first meeting with you to write something in this section per my notes, saying that you guys would be delegating to this responsibility.
because we didn't want to have like 4 weeks go by where if we could bring
But
the
it's in
candidate in, we had the ability to.
So this wasn't added for any
No, yeah,
other reason.
that's fine.
no, I'm just saying it's
Okay.
already in there.
So it's not saying anything different. It's saying the same thing again.
It's saying the same thing twice.
Well, no,
It's just giving it's assigning that delegate. rather than you having
Exactly,
assign
to
that person,
HR.
Because in the past, it was assigned in writing during session to the
which I would rather keep it that way because you, again, if you're to your point, normally we meet and if there's an issue, one we could meet out, we could meet whenever we want as long as we posted it. But if we foresaw something or this job's posting, it's communication. Someone says, hey, you guys are gonna be available. We could just, do it in writing, hey, for the next month. But I don't want it to have it
Well, what's the danger in that though?
I think, but one of the roles of our board, I believe, is checks and balances. So you got some.
We still have that though. He's not taking the, we're just saying like if he needs to close out a deal for vacation and it's an extra week, we don't have to make that call. He can make that call because we've already said we're comfortable as a board in any negotiation.
That we
We'd be willing to give
delegate
upwards of extra or an extra week.
But see, the
or extra 2
vacation,
weeks.
the vacation and the compensation is not human resource anyway. That's the town administrator currently.
But you know what? Maybe
So we set the grade when the negotiation with an employee is currently the town administrator is the
Quite.
one.
frankly, I do agree with that and leave it as a little more generic.
Yeah,
Just what happens if you're not available for some reason or other,
Back to us.
and it,
but this
then,
doesn't,
but-
we have to vote to take it.
yeah.
I just think we can, I think it's another we could talk about, but I'd rather,
Well, if we asked for it and now we're saying upon further review, we
Well-
don't want it, then just strike it.
Right.
It's fine.
then
I'm
I'm,
okay with
yeah,
that.
I'm just good,
Yeah,
but right now,
This
yes.
isn't meant to say that
Yeah, right.
the agent would override or you would have to vote to take the power back.
Correct.
What it says is you can vote to
Give it to them.
essentially like
Exactly.
not give it to them, give it
No, I
to
get it.
them, whoever it might
Right.
be.
Well, we would have to,
But
but
to your point, it is already.
it's already in there. I don't,
said.
yeah, I just like it,
So it's kind of, and you're right, we did want that
Yeah.
specific.
and there's, I think there's other, and that's,
Did
but to our question, again, I'm not knocking any work that was done, and that's how I point.
No,
I think there's a lot of work in here, and
oh,
we didn't,
I'll
didn't delve down into a lot of it, and so anyway.
Well, I just think I would say for me, and this is for context for Ray too, because Ray's new here, is that it's a very touchy subject to talk about. Like I know this is our purview to have this done. But But I think as we're saying, these are the changes we're going to be making, rather than having to vote on the changes being made, I would feel a lot more comfortable about saying, these are the changes we're intending to make. And now, what's the impact from the finance committee's perspective?
Mhm.
What's the impact from the town administrator's perspective? And saying, guys, we know this isn't typically how we've done things in the past, but
Correct.
we are also like 30 years behind where we should be.
Mhm.
And this is our approach,
That's right.
that why we hired Ray and why we have a personnel board, is to say, we are behind the
That's
times and we need to come up to current. So this is our intention. So if you have consensus and intention, then when it's voted on, it's not like, oh, they slid this one by us. I don't want anybody to feel that way, because I think we've made other decisions in the past in the town where when things got voted on in town meeting, they didn't recognize the sort of the weight of the vote until after the fact. And then it was people chirping about like, I didn't know I was voting for someone to get a $30,000 raise. I didn't know I was doing this. So I think it'd be important just to have consensus with other people
Sure.
before we
I
before we
get-
put this in concrete.
Exactly.
Well, and I think we've already said the same thing.
Because
If
I'm
we did it,
fearful of backlash on that.
if
I
we did
know.
it for pages at a time and put all the things together and shared them, I think it'd be a lot, who knows? Then people go to town meeting and they've already seen this, you know?
And
So
or
to
they
be
know
clear,
of it.
I'm sorry, so the board has voted to increase the number of sick time to 360 from 240,
That you can, what's the word on there?
that you can accumulate
Yeah,
until.
yes. Yeah.
Okay, and
Which is the current practice.
Yeah, which is,
Okay, which we're
Well, it's-
basically codifying of what was said was the practice.
yes,
Even though nobody codified it appropriately
Correct.
yes.
here.
Correct.
Sure. And then the board also voted to prorate the amount of sick payout, of vacation payout when someone leaves service.
Yeah, and that's the one we'll have to work with town council on the actual, and to your point,
Yes.
he may, they're labor lawyers, he may say that's something you don't
I
want.
just want to make sure
Yeah,
we
no, I
understand
understand.
what that means,
Mhm.
that if an employee has 3 weeks on the books
Mhm.
and they leave, in August, then we're paying them out 3 weeks divided by 12, essentially.
Yeah, 15 to, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the other one, Ray, just below that was, selling back the sick time, you can sell back, it says it, I don't have the number.
The 240.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, just added to a maximum 240, which I think was to a point of practice, but
Well, right. That's
it's
what
not
we
in there-
Well,
calculated
if
on.
there's no practice, and it's never been done. So I've gotten confirmation of that. So the 240 is not a practice, it just hasn't been done. No one's reached it.
Mhm.
No one's retired to that point.
All right.
no, yeah, I misspoke, right, there's people here now that are over that number, and
That
so,
could,
so now, if you don't
Wow.
clarify that, it could be,
yeah.
So right,
The revision says that anyone who's here would get that 240.
I was just gonna ask that question. So,
Everyone, their grandfather.
Yes.
so there you go. That's what I was gonna
but it
ask.
was a selling back part.
It would have still been the 20% of the 240.
Right, but nowhere in here did it say,
It doesn't
in the current one, did it say, it says 20%, it doesn't say up to 40.
Oh,
So, and it,
Right, because the 360 is just in parentheses. It doesn't.
Correct.
yeah,
If I'm reading this as somebody with
Mhm.
training, the 360 means nothing.
and that was, when we
Well,
first
it's
got
just-
put on this board,
It's
that's
just
just
in
one thing.
parentheses. That's why the 240 would be memorialized, or where it is memorialized, it would just be. the
so what does the
practice.
360 even mean?
It was a typo that was supposed to be the 360 days cap, but no one put it through, and so it's not legal and we can't do it.
Okay. But but if you can only cap at 240 anyway, and then 20% of the 240, then if you were doing the math equation, the 360 has nothing to do with the math, is what I'm saying.
No,
Right,
No.
but you can still bank that, so,
So you
and
can
there's
use-
other places like that.
But I
too.
would contend that if the 240 is in there and the 360 was just in parentheses and has nothing applicable to it, then there is nobody with more than 240.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
I'm not saying that on camera.
No, but I
But that's what
I
that's
think I
what
understand.
would read if we.
No,
asked
I
somebody
just,
legally.
that was, again,
Okay, no, I just
Yeah,
wanted
later.
clarification because this is all, I'm just trying to understand
Do we have anything else?
how the two numbers relate to one another. Like if no one has 360 days on the books today, and they're not gonna get to 360, then that number is irrelevant.
Right.
The 240 is a relevant number because that's what they can cash out up to 20%.
The
Right.
240 is
Unless they use it, they use their vacation. They could use the vacation because they had it.
right.
but yeah, again, I don't want to keep saying the same
But the
thing,
sick time accumulates if you
but I'm
break
at
the
the,
cap. If you if you lower the cap, you're accumulating the next month. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
so just to
Okay.
clarify, so we're gonna,
So what sections let's go back and look at the sections that we're going to vote on And those are the
Those are-
We
sections,
just did.
Those are
just
the-
those three
Yes.
sections,
That's it.
Now,
okay.
This is what he's
to your,
asking for
I
change.
know we talked about this, I don't know I don't know if we have to talk about it now, but as long as we're here, are we in agreement that, or my proposal would be, in our next meeting, besides other regular agenda items, would be to start on, to your point, chapter one with what we have already?
Well, yeah.
Because that would give us, if you did one a month, and you'd have everything ready by,
Well, I think to Ray's point, like, I think up to page like 16, 5 dot
But
whatever,
we've already
we've already,
kind of discussed.
I think we've discussed and come to, a TA, if you will, on most of it. What I'm not comfortable is, that's just the 5 of us around the table. Like, what's the TA to like what that impacts, how that impacts the town administrator?
Right.
How that impacts
And
how
we
the finance.
don't know
committee. I don't know
you're
that
right.
part, so I would wanna
We
say,
don't know, especially on the accruals and all that.
so that's kind of what I'm saying is,
like, I don't wanna waste time going back and reviewing all
No.
that stuff all
We could-
over again.
we could
But
look at it and
there's
say, we
some
all agree,
generic stuff that we could get.
we could, to your point, we could agree.
May I make a recommendation to the board? Sure. I agree with some of these points. I believe they're very valid. I would recommend that one of the meetings be, one of the agenda items be writing up a plan to formally follow to update these, because and I do feel a little bit slighted because I did what the board asked and went through and spent a lot of time updating this.
No,
And-
and we're not taking that.
And I'm not saying that we're taking it out, it's just
Yeah.
if we knew that we were going to be able to prolong this a little bit, I probably could have done some customer service calls, to our employees. So, because this does take a lot of time.
Sure.
So I would recommend having a written plan to be able to do them section by section, and we'll be looking at an update for the next fiscal year.
Yeah, I think that's smart. I'm
I
fine with
think
that.
that, no, and I
To
mean,
your point on that,
I don't want
in
you
that
to
plan, you
think
can
that
see who you're
you've done
sharing.
this.
Yeah.
for
No, I understand where
It's a
everyone's coming
great-
from.
It's a great starting point, but at least we're not rushing through this and we have time to consult with other departments and whatnot.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ray. So in that plan, to your point, you could say, we're gonna meet on this date and then whatever.
And then
plan,
we TA
we're gonna
it,
share,
gone.
yeah, we're gonna
That's it.
share it.
We'll move it over.
The next week, we're gonna share it with, the other departments and showing that plan. Hey, we've shared it with these departments.
Yes.
And even with town employees, at least push it out, say, hey, here's what we're talking about. So again, if there's any,
These
Anyway, I
are
got-
going to be recommended changes, even to the department heads. I think if you
Yes.
do it to every employee,
Yeah.
it's gonna get all muddy.
And not only that.
well,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good point,
Like,
yeah.
you have a job, I have a job. When they decide to change stuff, my job, they don't ask me my opinion. It's not our job to make sure the town
No.
employees are comfortable.
No, I agree with you.
This is our job to put something.
Do I think
for the
we
town.
should?
Probably the department head, you're right.
Department heads.
Yes,
Absolutely.
you're right. You're
Yeah.
exactly right. I misspoke, yeah.
Because they're the ones that are gonna have to communicate it down to understand why it's.
It'll
not
also,
prestigious
it'll also
towns.
cut back, how myths and rumors built, so somebody said, hey,
I
but listen,
mean-
I'm not trying to cut this short, actually, I am trying to cut this short. Is there anything else? No.
No.
All right, I make the motion to
Just
adjourn,
think that,
and we can move, like, so to your point, now, we're not gonna redo everything right, but at least we have
No.
a start, I didn't mean it like that, I know what you feel, so
No, I'm
I,
actually comfortable with a lot of what's already been
Me
presented,
too.
to be honest with you, up to like Ray said, to 5 point.
Like I said, a lot of this was discussed, a lot of this was like everyone was okay with it. We've
No.
been stuck on
Yeah, I
part
just
five.
stuck-
the
Part
biggest
5.
Yeah.
parts that took a lot of time, and I do agree that those are parts that other department heads should get a first glance at, and just to ask questions and.
And the chair of the finance committee should probably at least like weigh in, because like I just, how this place goes. with
yeah,
some
let's,
of
we
this
could,
stuff.
to
With
the
the
point of
calls.
we could have this done in plenty of time, who knows, maybe there's, for some reason, maybe there's a special town meeting in November, we could throw it on there if it's done. But at least to get, we're good with all
But
this.
you're right.
We just want to
should-
share it.
To Ray's point, we have to put a plan
Yeah.
together,
We got
And
held up on.
so
some
that
part
he's
five.
not
Like,
a
Yeah.
lot,
True.
several
we
meetings.
could have just said like, let's bypass this.
Exactly.
If there's a specific plan to actually just discuss,
Mhm.
we're gonna discuss this and vote on it or whatever it might be, or this is everyone bring their proposed changes.
And that's, that's another one from the, so if something we forgot. I would like to, and again, I'm not trying to kick it down, but I would like to, I don't know who brought this up earlier, but we're making these big changes. I would like to have some input by the new town administrator,
Right,
because maybe it's,
exactly.
I can't think of anything, I know,
Assuming we have one.
well, yeah,
I'm not gonna wait a year if we
No.
can't find one that we're, our job's to do our job, not wait for the. new
No,
town.
I know.
But I hear you, if it's gonna happen,
But we have to be confident in our recommendations
Yes.
for changes.
No, that's right.
And truly believe that it's for the best of the town and make sure
I hate
that the
to-
department heads buy into it and know
You're
why.
right, the four of us, there were five of us, when that was here, it makes sense, but yeah, I would just rather, like you said, we've already said this 4 or 5 times, get a plan, say, okay, on this, in June, we're gonna do this. I don't know, June, I don't know if we meet in June at the town meeting, but
Right.
we're gonna start on this part.
Because it's June.
You know, we're gonna meet on this day, and on this day, we're gonna share with the department heads, and I say department, I mean like the town administrator, like, you know, HR, treasurer.
Right.
In a cut date, listen, we're giving it to you on Monday, if I don't hear from you by Wednesday, we're gonna
Mhm.
assume, you know,
Mhm.
silence is consent, we're gonna move on and
Correct.
get it all done.
Yep.
All right, sorry.
No, you have to apologize. It's-
No, I'm sorry,
it's
Lenita.
fine. It's fine.
All right. Well then, thank you. I think, is everybody clear as to what we're?
Yeah.
Moving on, going forward?
I'm good.
No actions required by me. I understand.
I'll get with you on
You'll be
that.
Working with the TA to update that language.
Yeah, so I just talked to the town administrator here, but anything I send to him, if you don't want me, I will, but I will share with you if you want me to, just how we're gonna word the warrant. If you don't,
I only push it out.
yeah, so I'll use it to send to him and Mike, and I usually send it to Joyce too, because there's always someone that can, you know,
Push it,
Yeah.
put it, yeah.
all right.
All right,
We'll see what adjourned.
meeting adjourned.